I'm up. I have to.
Hours.
8 hours.
Changing one word here and there.
Oh my, it actually like.
George, how are you?
better when
I'm
I-
doing well,
you
and
know,
yourself?
yeah,
Not too bad. Good.
George, we'll figure it out.
You know.
You're the other guy.
I know.
Like, I mean, yes.
You're short of military on.
Well, that's what they
I just don't
nobody
think-
can remember when it was written.
No, I don't
And
either.
then
In the Navy.
I thought, I mean, this mission statement. You were the
$1 million.
You were the government.
You got 4,000.
Vision, and then you have a mission. And then you-
Yeah.
Water and wastewater, do you say water
I did.
resource?
The big thing now is neighbor, how you doing?
But we don't know, no,
All right, how
that's
are you?
not saying. We don't talk about it like that
How's your
anymore.
wife doing?
It's water management. It's all water.
Oh,
And
is she?
reclaim comes under that, right, with disposal and.
You think you're gonna be able to fix it?
So
Which,
reclaim.
by that conversation was only
Everything
about
they did,
45
she did.
minutes.
It's bad.
And then I got to
I guess
listen
it's
to
common.
John Meyer Cottonwood Environmental Law
It just can be
argue
tricky.
his case.
There's no such thing as.
In front of Judge
Yeah,
Friday morning.
hopefully they can just go in like this. and-
It's going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but the point is that the federal Can you explain to me why you would hire somebody to try to use it?
Nice.
That's all. that
Or you
matters.
didn't ask
Yeah.
them to discover.
The rest of these going to hell, like, I'm
Don't know.
Maybe she can grow enough for both of us.
Hey, Gene, you
Yes.
get your check?
So what?
Your check?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
$60 or something like that.
I got, what? I got
Big sky's a whole
1550
different
or
world
something like that, cause
to
no
me.
mileage, right? So,
64 miles.
we'll see, yeah. I'm sure you didn't make money over it if you actually calculated the wear and tear on your vehicle.
Yeah, yeah.
Gene and I sat next to each other when we didn't, when they canceled the trial.
Yeah.
But
What
do you got for new wheels?
Crystal? Oh, I got that. Kubota RTV.
Well, I think it's so much.
Mower deck.
But you know, it's a privilege of
Start doing
registration.
some field cutting and make the profit.
It's a good thing, right?
Oh, it is very.
Smart man.
I think, I mean, honestly, it's a great experience, right?
So sometimes you just have too many tabs
Right, I
open.
do too.
Just go back to that tab.
We're sitting there and then the judge comes in after about 45 minutes and she goes,
Right,
"Why are you
that's
trying
right.
to avoid it?"
Yeah.
And I thought about being.
So John's gone out to get 3 years to like to do it.
Yeah, I. How are you?
Anyway, the attorney was so sick, she's like, I don't want to. I don't want to. And they're fantastic.
Some places not in Montana.
Anyway.
That's what I was wondering.
So they hang out for 45 minutes. like 2 days.
Oh, yeah, Montana.
Yeah, I need to get
So we're off the hook for the rest of our term.
And then we're-
It's pretty easy, $64.
There's lots of places outside of there, but I leave. Yeah.
And I don't know that I could left.
I tried to do, I gave her a plan, so she's turning
This meeting will now come to order. We'll have the roll call. George? Here. Reagan?
Here.
Dean? Here. Ed? Here. Here. And Roxy's on her way from Bozeman, so she'll be in a little bit. This time, let us stand and say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, Roxy. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is audio recorded. And at this time, are there any public comments for items not on the agenda? George?
Chancellor, 17 West Adams. I feel that the decision that we made for the dog last meeting was wrong on several formats. Pet owners and pet owners only are responsible for their pets. The choices that the pet owners make for their pets are also their responsibility. These people have lived in Three Forks for years and have not registered their dog. They came to the city for an additional dog. Our dog ordinance says 4 dogs maximum. The debate started with the contents of the ordinance and quickly changed to putting down the oldest dog. The council readily accepted this hot potato when there were plenty of other options that weren't even considered. We went from making a decision based on facts to making a decision based on emotion. The council acted, breaking our own ordinance, an ordinance that cost thousands of taxpayer dollars and countless man hours. We took responsibility for the pet instead of focusing on our responsibility for the citizens. It was quite irresponsible to break our own law and make exceptions contrary to our ordinance. We can't set an example. If we can't set an example to make decisions according to our own ordinances, why should the citizens of Three Forks feel obligated to follow them? If we can't make decisions according to our own ordinances, what is the purpose of this council? We've been counseled by our attorney to treat everyone equal. Our decision has made our ordinance moot. Ladies and gentlemen, as a council, if we don't like a law, we change it. We don't break it. I think we can do better with our job as a leadership responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Are there any others? No. Okay, we will go to the consent agenda, approval of the following. Okay, city claim paid due to timeliness on 5/30/25 to mail utility bills totaling $204.38. B, city claims to be paid. C, Three Forks Rodeo Arena board claims to be paid. D, council minutes of 5/27/2025. E, zoning and planning board minutes 4/22/2025. F, advertising salesperson contract for the Three Forks Rodeo, 12% of the sales. Pardon me?
I sneezed, sorry. I said bless you.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. You must eat. G, sales marketing director contracted to Three Forks Rodeo for $425 per month. H, water project draw packet number 30 totaling $371,169.34, including draw number 15 of ARPA minimum allocation grant and MAG for $95,729.27. Draw number 8 of ARPA for competitive grant for $274,255.57. And draw number 2 of Montana Coal Endowment Program MSEP grants for $1,184.50. Council, do you have any questions on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Does the public have anything to say? Then be it, we'll have the vote. George,
Yes.
Reagan,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
and Roxy.
Yes.
Public hearings, a public hearing and decision on a second reading of the ordinance number 404/2025, adding the southeast zoning district to the zoning code, title 11, chapter 22. We had, as everybody has known, except for a few in here, we've read this. If you want, we do not have to read it again because there was no changes. You will have a motion to accept it as it is.
I'll make a motion to accept
Thanks.
Oh, second.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, so ordinance number 404/2025 is done for the second reading. And then,
Vote,
well,
public comment, vote.
oh, public comment on that? Andy? There's no public comment then. Okay, B.
Vote.
Oh, we.
There's a motion and a second.
I was so confused about public comment. Okay, we'll have the vote. George,
Yes.
Reagan,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Ed,
yes.
Garrett, and Roxy. Thank you. Okay, we're back on track again. Okay, a public hearing and decision on the second reading of ordinance number 405/2025, adding to landscaping chapter to the zoning code, title 11, chapter 23. We have read this once and is there anyone that wants this to be read again, or do we have a motion to pass?
I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 405-2025, an ordinance of the Three Forks City Council adding chapter 23 landscaping to title 11 zoning regulations.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Does the public have any comment? Okay, then, we'll have the vote. George,
Yes.
Reagan,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
and Roxy.
Yes.
Okay, our next item is a public hearing and decision and resolution of intent to increase the minimum base sewer and water rates by up to 10 to 15% respectively. City of Three Forks Resolution number 438/2025, a resolution of intent to increase the minimum base sewer and water rates by up to 10% and 15% respectively. Whereas under section 69-7101 MCA, the city has the power and authority to regulate, establish, and change as it considers proper rates, charges, and classifications approved for the utility services to its inhabitants and other persons served by municipal systems. Rates, charges, and classifications must be reasonable and just. Whereas pursuant to the Three Forks City Ordinance Title, Chapter 4, Section 7, the city shall review the user system charges every 2 years and revise as necessary to assure the quality of the system and assure that sufficient funds will be collected to adequately operate and maintain the system. The Budget Committee reviews the rates annually at their meetings and has not found it necessary to increase rates for the past 10 years. Whereas in 2023, the city treasurer proposed to the Budget Committee to reduce the minimum sewer rate for each household by $5 and increase the minimum water rate by $5 for each connection size. This was due to water fund expenses surpassing revenues, but sewer fund expenses remaining adequate, including a slight surplus. This resulted in a $0 net change to the user's monthly expenses by shifting the revenues to each fund. The council agreed to this change via resolution number 394/2023, which became effective on May 2023 billing. Whereas the city of Three Forks has seen a 100% increase in health insurance costs over the past 12 years. The city has provided increases to its personnel and all the operational maintenance supplies, and required testing expenses have seen increases over the past decade, as well as such as replacing aging equipment, meeting new requirements in the growing community, including adding employees. This shows that the city council, having the foresight to increase the rates healthily in 2013, 25% increase to water, and in 2015, a 55% increase to sewer to cover future expenses due to inflation. Whereas the city of Three Forks is currently in the process of drilling an additional public supply wells to meet the city's existing demand and to address anticipated growth, as well as replacing outdated water mains in the oldest part of town and adding new looping mains to promote better flow. Whereas the city has been awarded many grants to help fund these projects in the amount of just over $3,500,000 in various American Reinvestment and Recovery Plans, or ARPA grants. A renewable resource grant and loan program, RRGL grant, is in the amount of $125,000, and a Montana Coal Endowment Program, MCEP grant, is in the amount of $625,000. MCEP funds are designed to help address the affordability of local infrastructure projects. This grant funding has provided the city the luxury of not needing to increase rates to fund these improvements thus far. However, in order to be eligible to collect the full MCEP grant funds, the average rates for sewer and water must be combined to an average of $124 per month. The combined average currently is $116. Whereas the Water Sewer Committee met on 4/17/2025 with the city treasurer, who explained the debt ratio requirements for grants and loans, revenues, less operational supplies and personnel should be above 110% of your annual loan payments. In the 10 years of the city has not raised rates, personnel costs paid from water and sewer accounts have increased over $10,000 per month than what the city paid for those same things 10 plus years ago, which is the largest consistent expense. But all expenses have increased for operations. A $10 increase would equate to less than $1 per year since the last time the city raised rates. The city members stressed we want to make sure there is water in people's taps and that their waste is dealt with in a clean and safe way, all while we are planning for maintenance and depreciation of our systems. Whereas pursuant to section 69-7111 MCA, the council should order a public hearing prior to the passage or enactment of an ordinance or resolution imposing, establishing, or changing, increasing rate, fees, or charges for services for facilities. Said hearing was set for today, and as found in section 6 below. Whereas pursuant to section 7-4-4127 MCA, the city clerk published notice of this resolution of intent in the Bozeman Daily Chronicle on 5/24 and 6/3/2025, and the Three Forks Voice on 5/28/64 and 6/25/25, and in the Belgrade News on 5/22 and 6/5/2025. Now, therefore be resolved by the Three Forks City Council as follows. Section 1, intent to increase sewer system rates. It is the intent of the city to increase its rates for the users of sewer effective on the billing period of July 20th, 2025. Current and proposed sewer rates. A sewer inactive service connection. Users who are connected to the system but have turned off or are not using any water for the system shall be responsible for the service availability charge each month during any period or turn off of non-use of the system. B, sewer charge based on water use. Currently, the service availability charge is $49.25 per month. This is the base rate for just being connected to the system and covers the first 400 cubic feet. The monthly usage charge for amounts in excess of 400 cubic feet of water flow is $6.97 per 100 cubic feet of water use or part thereof. The service availability charge plus the usage charge equals the monthly sewer rate. C, sewer charge not based on water use. The monthly rate for sewer for properties not connected to the city water and for properties with insufficient monthly usage information is based on household size. The rate per household having a size of 1 is $49.25 per month, with incremental increases for larger sized households. The following table shows the current and proposed in bold monthly service charge for the various users of the sewer system based on the initial 400 cubic feet or household size that is not connected to the water system. So we have this up there, and I'm going to ask Kelly if you would help me with this. And it shows basically the first one with one connection, it's $49.25. And then we'll go to two is, and that will be increased to $54.25. So could you take it over there, Kelly?
Yeah, we're just increasing all the base rates by $5. So the first column shows what they are currently, and then the next one shows what they will be in the future by adding the $5. There is a correction at the top of that chart though, because it says decrease on the far right. See that, Crystal?
Oh, yeah.
It should be increase. So the one connection going from $49.25 to the $54.25 is a 10% increase. For the two person, just $5, it makes it just an 8% increase because you're starting with a higher number, so $5 isn't as high of an increase. So that just goes down until you get to 6 and up, and it's only a 4.3% increase with the $5. So they just show $5 increase on each one of them.
Okay. And then let's continue on with D, use rate. The use rate for 100 cubic feet or initial 400 cubic feet will remain at $6.97. So section 2, intent to increase the water system rates. It is the intent of the city council to increase its rates for users of the water system effective for the billing period beginning with July 20th, 2025, and the current proposed rates. The following table shows the current proposed rates in bold with monthly service charge for various users of the water system based on 100 cubic feet. So Kelly, would you like to take that over?
It's basically the same as the other one, except for we charge based on the meter size. The first column again is all the, or the second column is all the current base fee based on your meter size. The next column is adding $5 to all those, and then the percentage increase, so.
Kelly, what's the majority meter size for the town?
5/8 or 3/4, so the first two.
The 5/8?
Yeah, the 5/8, and then now they're becoming more 3/4 or the normal for a house.
Okay,
The only one that has the 4-inch line is the school.
So for example, my meter is a 3/4 and right now it's 37.05. It would increase to 42.05, which is $5. So the bigger the meter you have, the more you pay. But let me finish this and then we'll go into it. So it says, B, use rate. The use rate for each 100 cubic feet over the initial 100 cubic feet will remain at $1.55. So section 3, determination of annual budget for systems. At least once each year, the council shall determine the amount of money needed to pay the cost of the systems, including but not limited to A, the payment of reasonable expense of operation and maintenance of the system. B, administration of the system. C, payment of principal and interest on any bonded or other indebtedness of the system. And D, the establishment or maintenance of any required reserves, including reserves needed or expenditures for depreciation and replacement of facilities as may be determined necessary from time to time by the council or as covenanted in the ordinance or resolution authorizing any outstanding bonds of the system based on the annual needs of the system. The council will establish monthly charges for the use of the system. Section 4, further rate increases. Subsequent adjustments to the rates and charges for the use of the system will be made by resolution of the city duly adopted after a public hearing with notice thereof given as provided by law. Section 5, public hearing. A public hearing for the resolution to adopt the increased rates for the city sewer and water systems will be held on July 8, 2025, commencing at 6 p.m. at City Hall, 206 Main, Three Forks, Montana. Additional public notices will be published in the newspaper for this hearing. Section 6, notice. The city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish or cause to be published a copy of a notice of the passage of this resolution and the date for the public hearing to adopt and recommend rate increases in the newspapers and to mail or cause to be mailed a copy of said notice to all persons who are property owners in the city and to all customers of the system at least 7 days and not more than 30 days prior to public hearing to adopt rates, as well as to the Montana Consumer Council. The mail notice must contain an estimate of the amount that the property owner or customer will be charged under the proposed ordinance resolution. Section 7, reminder, multifamily units are charged a base rate for each unit. So at this time, council, do you have any discussion on this? Gene.
question for Kelly. So if we pass this resolution tonight, then do we have to send out notice before the date in July?
We have to send them out at no more than, or no less than 7 days before that meeting and no more than 30 days. So.
But if we pass this tonight, we have passed the rate increase and we're
No.
just,
No.
This is the intent to raise.
the intent.
Every owner of a property in town will get the notice, so they can appear on July 8th if they would like to discuss it or to protest or agree to it, however it may be. And then you vote to increase it. It's
Okay,
on the 8th.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment too. I've noticed in this document that it's been 10 years since we have done any increases. So part of it, what I read was this is less than $1 a year for running the town. But as I see in everything else, all things are going up, especially testing and trying to keep people here. And but we were very fortunate, I think, to have the grant money that we received for these new wells to put in water mains. And it's really helped out a lot. But we still have equipment that is able to have mains in the ground that are put in 1935 that we're working on. So that's all I'd like to say about this. Anything else from council? Gary?
There's one thing that came up in the Water and Sewer Committee that was mentioned in this as well. The increase is so that, as well as covering all of the additional costs and that has accrued, it is so that we still have access to the additional grant money that allowed us to move forward with the water projects that we've had. If you looked in the, I can't remember what section it is, but it says that we have to have an average of $124 to allow us funds.
That's on top of page 2, baby.
No, it's the
No.
bottom of page one.
Bottom of page 1. And that was a big driving factor for me because you know, I'm paying these increases as well, and I feel like that's a pretty good investment for my $10 a month to have access to over $100,000 for the city. That's just where I'm coming from.
Any other council? No. Public? Is there anything to say? No public comment? Do I have a motion to pass the first part of this referendum?
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 438-2025, resolution of intent to increase the minimum base sewer and water rates by up to 10% and 15% respectively.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. We'll have the vote then. George?
Yes.
Reagan?
Yes.
Gene?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
And Roxy?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, our next item is a public hearing and decision on a resolution of intent to declare certain property, let's see, no, that's right. Certain property as surplus, no longer necessary to conduct city business, and authorizing its sale and purpose. Okay, so City of Three Forks, Montana Resolution 439-2025, a resolution of intent declaring certain city property as surplus, no longer necessary to conduct city business, and authorizing its sale or disposal. Whereas Section 7-8-1012 MCA authorizes a city to transfer property that is not necessary for the conduct of the city's business to a county or other political subdivision. Whereas Section 7-5-4307 MCA authorizes the city council to sell surplus property to the highest responsible bidder after calling for bid purchasers. Whereas the following property owned by the city is declared surplus and is approved for sale, lease, or transfer or disposal. Whereas pursuant to Section 7-1-4127 MCA, the city clerk advertised the resolution of intent in the Belgrade News on 5/29/2025, and the Bozeman Daily Chronicle 6/3/2025, and then the Three Forks Voice 5/28 and 6/4/2025. That the city would hold their hearing to declare certain property surplus. Notice was also posted on the city's website and Facebook pages. It's posted in various locations around the city as it is the city policy. Whereas any property not sold will be disposed of or donated as per section 7-4101 MCA. Now therefore be it resolved by the Three Forks City Council that the following is declared surplus and is hereby approved for sale, lease, transfer, or disposal. We have a 25-gallon Pimco sprayer, minimum bid $50, a 501 John Deere pole spreader, minimum bid $50, a 1960s Lincoln Welder generator, minimum bid $200, a 1993 Jay's sewer vac for $5,000, a 1996 John Deere 445 mower with blades for minimum bid $500, 1998 Tennant diesel rider street sweeper for minimum bid of $10,000, a 2001 GMC Sierra gas truck minimum bid $1,000, the 2003 sewer jet for a minimum bid of $40,000, a 2006 Rhino mower minimum bid $2,500, and a PA system and amp and other miscellaneous equipment. The city will have all equipment located at the Three Forks Rodeo grounds at 95-691 Montana Highway 2, Three Forks, Montana by June 11th, and will post pictures on the website and Facebook page so that all may view the available equipment. Bids for each item shall be submitted to P.O. Box 187, Three Forks, Montana 59752, or dropped off at 206 Main, Three Forks, Montana in a sealed envelope and have the following written on the outside of the envelope. Name of equipment, name of submitter, and phone number of submitter. 1, the city will accept sealed bids from counties and other political subdivisions until 5 p.m. on July 1st, 2025. 2, the mayor is hereby authorized to open the sealed bids from counties, municipalities, or other political subdivisions on July 2nd, 2025, and award the transfer the highest responsible bid received. 3, the city will accept sealed bids from the public until 5 p.m. on July 8th, 2025, and award the transfer to the highest responsible bid received at the city council meeting at 6 p.m. the same night. 4, the city clerk is hereby directed to advertise that the council will hold a public hearing at 6 p.m. on July 8th, 2025 to open bids for the public for the surplus property listed above in the Belgrade News, Bozeman Daily Chronicle, and the Three Forks Voice, passed and adopted this 10th day of June 2025. Council, do you have any questions? Questions to the public?
Yeah, I'm confused for a second here about, they're gonna open an award transfer on the 2nd, and then they're gonna do the same thing again on the 8th.
The 2nd is only for municipalities, counties, so governments or governmental bodies have first dibs.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Do I have a motion then to accept this?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 439-2025, resolution of intent declaring certain city property as surplus no longer necessary to conduct city business and authorizing its sale or disposal.
I'll second that motion.
It is moved in second. We'll have the vote. George?
Yes.
Reagan?
Yes.
Gene?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
And Roxy. Resolution 439 has passed. Okay, our next item, public hearing and decision on a resolution calling for the 2025 general election and notifying the Gallatin County Election Administrator of city's desire to conduct the election by mail ballot. City of Three Forks, Montana, Resolution 440-2025, the calling of the 2025 general election and notifying the Gallatin County Election Administrator of the city's desire to conduct the election by mail ballot, whereas the city of Three Forks will hold a general election for 5 expiring council seats, 2 of which are for unexpired terms for city council seats, and 1 mayor seat on November 4th, as required by section 13-1-40104-3A MCA. Whereas voter turnout in the Three Forks municipal elections has historically been low. Section 13-9202 MCA provides a method for conducting mail ballot elections for local elections. Statistically, mail ballot elections increase voter turnout. A polling place election still has 80% of voters getting absentee ballots mailed to them. Whereas the Gallatin County Election Administrator has informed the city that the cost of conducting a mail ballot are significantly less than the cost of conducting polling place elections due to not having extra judges and related necessary supplies. The election administrator also states that mail ballots election increase voter participation, remove barriers that keep people from getting to the polls, give people more time to study the candidates or other issues, and has built-in safeguards that increase the integrity of the election process. Whereas under section 13-19104 through part 3 MCA, elections can be conducted by a mail ballot election, and the election administrator says mail ballots elections are in the best interest of the electors. Whereas following section 13-19-205 MCA, the election administrator shall prepare a written plan, including a timetable, and shall submit it to the Secretary of State at least 60 days prior to the date set for the election. Whereas an official ballot will be mailed to every qualified elector of the city of Three Forks with the goal of increasing voter participation in the municipal elections for 2025. Whereas the Gallatin County Election Administrator may also have a drop-off site located at City Hall, 206 South Main, for electors who do not wish to mail their ballot. Whereas for any election conducted by mail ballot, the ballots must be mailed to the voters no sooner than the 20th day, and no later than the 15th day prior to election day, and all ballots must be mailed the same day in accordance with section 13-19-207 MCA. Whereas section 13-1-403 MCA says the governing body may cancel the election if the number of candidates filing for the elected position is less than or equal to the number of positions to be filled. Whereas for section 7-4-4127 MCA, the city clerk noticed this public hearing in the Bozeman Daily Chronicle on 5/31 and 6/3/2025, in the Three Forks Voice on 6/4/2025, and in the Belgrade News on 6/5/2025. Now therefore be it resolved that 1, the Three Forks City Council hereby notifies the Gallatin County Election Administrator of the intent to conduct the general election on November 4th, 2025 via mail. 2, the City Council requests ballots to be mailed 20 days before the election per section 13-19-207 MCA. 3, except as provided in section 13-19-204 MCA, the decision to conduct the election under the provision of section 13-19-202 MCA is within the sole discretion of the election administrator. If the election administrator's discretion, if at its discretion, he chooses to not to hold a mail ballot election, he will alert the city immediately so that it can prepare a space for holding elections. 4, the city clerk is hereby directed to forward a certain copy of this resolution to the Gallatin County Election Administrator. 5, the city council hereby requests that the Gallatin County Election Administrator have a place to deposit ballots located at City Hall, 206 Main, Three Forks, Montana, which will be available to the public during business hours prior to Election Day and will remain open to extended hours of 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 4th, 2025. 6, within 5 days of receiving this request, the election administrator shall respond to the Three Forks City Clerk in writing stating that this request is either granted or denied for reasons specified. If granted, the election administrator shall prepare a plan for the election. 7, if the number of candidates filing for the open seats is less than or equal to the same number of open seats, the city council hereby requests the election administrator to appoint the candidates to seats for which they have filed for by acclamation. Passed and adopted this 10th day of June 2025. Are there any questions, council, on resolution 440? None? Does the public have any questions? Do I have a motion then to accept resolution 440?
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 440-2025, calling for the 2025 general election and notifying the Gallatin County Election Administrator of the city's desire to conduct the election by mail ballot.
Moved and second, we'll have a vote. George?
Yes.
Reagan?
Yes.
Gene?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
And Roxy?
Yes.
Resolution 440 has passed. Okay, our next item is report of officers. Des, would you like to give us a report? Yeah, get up here.
Go on, make it official. So I got the numbers for April, May, and June to date. So April, we did have a busy month here in Three Forks. We had 212 calls for service inside the city limits. May was a little bit more normal, I guess, for what we usually see with 151 calls. And we're at 41 calls to date in June so far. So thrown in there, May was the busiest month in Gallatin County for basically history, with 5,200 calls countywide in the sheriff's office. So just kind of the trend of the population growth and stuff. But working with the chamber to get ready for rodeo days. Looking forward to the upcoming parades and events. That's about it.
Is that coming along okay?
It's coming along well.
To your satisfaction?
Hopefully the chamber is satisfied with it.
I'm just worried about that parade route for you, Des.
Well, we changed it a little bit. Yeah, we changed it a little bit this year. We're working, I think Roxy can speak to it too. Yeah, it's we're just gonna do one way instead of the return loop and stuff. Keep it a little bit more contained, and we're looking for a 2-day permit to shut down the street wholly for 2 days, so we don't have to open and reclose for safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Des.
Thank you.
Okay, Crystal.
So I created a YouTube page that we tried testing it out today to see if we could share these automatically, because Facebook only keeps our audio and video recordings online for 30 days. They've had them on there longer, but they're warning us that they're gonna start taking them down. So YouTube, we can maintain it that way instead, but we haven't, it didn't work yet, so we still need to work on confirming our account. But that'll get us in compliance with 2.3.2.14, which we've been in compliance so far, but now that Facebook is taking things down, we will be out of compliance. And then also, let's see, I did all the edits to the personnel policy from last time, routed that to all the staff, so I think everybody, about half of the staff still needs to turn it in. And then we have a resignation of Josh Miller, who's the fire department secretary, so we've advertised that position. You do not have to be on the fire department, you do not have to live in the city limits, you just have to live in the fire district. as both rural or city that they see to do that job. It is a paid position, although it's just a paycheck once a year. But you do not have to be a firefighter, which I think some people might think they need to. We're still having that advertised. It doesn't close till the 20th, but I haven't got any applications yet. And then the waiting pool, we have scheduled to open tentatively on the 18th of June. The temporary workers or the short-term workers we hired this summer, they're gonna start on the 16th, cleaning the pool, getting it all organized, take inventory, walk parks, make sure everything's all ready to rock and roll for the summer. And then we might even be able to open on the 17th, but we're planning for the 18th. That's it.
Thank you. Kelly?
I did a little printout for everybody to see what classes I went to at the floodplain conference, because I don't want to talk about all of them. There's a wide variety. Each of these sessions, they had about 8 different choices to look at, so you had to choose one. They all had tracks, like the NFIP track or the mitigation track, the risk communication track, and that's one. The main ones that I tried to go to as many of them that would talk about the CRS review, because we have that coming up in July. Our 5-year, every year we get reviewed, but every 5 years actually come here and look at our paperwork. So I wanted to get some more hints in that to see if we can get a higher rating, because that gets a discount to anyone that has NFIP insurance. I sat in on a couple of them about the risk rating 2.0, which is the new FEMA, how they're charging rates based on risk instead of everyone paying the same. That we will need to update our ordinance, which will happen by the end of the year, with regards to any man-made change at the floodplain. You're supposed to have a permit for that. A little bit stricter stuff on garages and fencing and that. So that'll all be coming up. On Wednesday, from 8:30 to 10, there was a session, but we all skipped it to prepare and practice for our presentation. And we did the presentation at 10. We were the first one in the set of 3, because they have 3 different groups talk during the session. So ours was all based on local mitigation project successes. Ours was first. From what everyone, because all of us went to different sessions throughout the days, and I think ours was one of the most well attended. There was a lot of people there that knew about our project. I had a guy come up after our presentation or after the session was over and say he actually was one of them that reviewed our application when it came through, and it was really good to see that it was actually going to happen. So that was kind of neat to see somebody that saw our proposal. And I enjoyed New Orleans, other than it was 70 to 75% humid every day. And it was 75 at night, was the coolest it got. And our hotel room was right above a bar. We were on the 2nd floor, and below us was a bar. They played good music though. They played, really good music throughout the night. On the weekends, it was till 3 in the morning. Bars don't close in New Orleans, right? Just 24 hours a day. So probably would have chose a different location in the hotel. But they usually have good music, so.
Kept it up all night.
I slept through it pretty well, actually. I can sleep through almost anything, but it did wake me up every now and then.
Anything else, Kelly?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Are there any reports from the council committees? Gene?
Yes, I have 2 council meeting reports. First one, May 30th, the Sewer and Water Committee met. And Ed, myself, Randy, Steve Johnson, and Susan Hayes from Great West. And the purpose of this committee meeting was to talk about the 2 things: to talk about the construction going on with the replacement of the water mains in Three Forks, and the new wells that we are working on trying to get online south of town. South of town. So one of the things that was brought to our attention is that we're starting to dip into our contingency fund with the street project because of the problems with the subsoils when they have started digging into the street. They did do some tests, core samples before the project started. in 2 spots, and it didn't look like the soil was going to be that bad, but it's pretty unstable where they started at. And I'm talking about on Second Avenue, real bad spot between Date Street and Cedar. Took a lot of new fill in that area to get the stability back in. And so as we have went up Cedar Street, the soil has gotten better to where we are not replacing as much of it as we were at that time. The other thing that we were concerned about is getting the street back to as close to normal or original as possible. And so one of the things they found out with the large equipment that they're using, not only is it bigger, it's also heavier, and it pretty well just destroyed the pavement in some of the areas. And so it looks like our paving back is going to be a little more costly than we had first figured into the contract. And so we're hoping that as we go on, it looks like the subsoil is going to get better as we head north and east going towards Neal Street down by the school. So they are keeping a close eye on that and also keeping us well informed about how much material that they are needing to get the subgrade back. We also talked a little bit about the copper and plastic lines, about some of them, how we're going to replace them. There was some odd spots there where it seemed like the copper line went a long ways one way to get to this, where there's some things that we could have done that we aren't going to do. We're going to just keep that copper line instead of pulling it all out. Engineering firm was happy with the contractor as far as being responsible. Our city water superintendent and Mr. Johnson, he had a few problems with them, but I think they're getting them straightened out. And I think a lot of it depends more on communication to let people know what's going on and back and forth. And so it seems like it's got a good chance that the project's going to finish up early this fall, and that they are on schedule. And that one of our big concerns was that we don't get into late into the season when we're trying to repave the streets. And so that was one of our questions. And so it looks like it's going to maybe be August or September when they're doing this. And so that's going to be pretty good. And so Garrett, Ed, I think I covered most of it.
I think you did a good job there.
Yeah. One little thing, just as far as a perspective, of 19 blocks of the project, they were into 8 of them at the point where we were having this conversation. 4 of the blocks out of that 8 needed extra stabilization and support to get the road back up to proper condition. And then 4 of those blocks out of that 8 were just fine to go back on. Susan was pretty optimistic that she was going to continue to find, or that they were going to continue to find better soil as they went forward. So about halfway through the blocks, and 4 of them needed that extra webbing and stuff.
So that's so we also then had a budget meeting on 6/2. George and Roxy, myself, Brandy, Kelly, basically got a good start on the budget, going through it, looking at where we are on our spending up as we're closing in on June 30th of this year. No department or funds was in any dire straits or whatever. In fact, our budget's actually in my opinion, very good shape. I think our city treasurer does a remarkable job with the funds and keeps us going. So we also talked, one of the things that we were directed to do every year at budget time was to go over our capital improvement program. And so last year, when we sat down and done capital improvements, we put some years that we would like to see some of this stuff taken care of. And so we looked at 2024 and 2025 of capital improvement projects that were earmarked for those years. And we went through them and picked out what we thought were the critical ones, and we'll try to work as many as we can into this year's budget. We do have one fairly large purchase item, and which is going to be a new backhoe. I guess approximately 150,000, something in there. But we went through a lot of the things, I mean, through the parks and everything, and decided which ones we're going to do and which ones we really thought were critical. And so we took a pretty hard look at the capital improvement program. One of the things that makes the budget process so hard is that we don't know how much money we're going to get. And at the time we had our meeting, we still hadn't received our second half taxes from the county, which, being fair to the county, we met on June 2nd, and I think the taxes were due on June 1st. And so it's pretty hard to say anything bad, but it helps. And then the other thing is if in the budget process, we also don't know what we're going to get as far as our assessed value of property and stuff until the Department of Revenue gives us a letter, hopefully in August, early August. Sometimes it goes to September, but we're supposed to put a budget together when we really don't know what we're getting, and which is, I think, one of the worst systems I've ever been involved with. Is how do you, the state tells you you've got to have a budget by July 1st, but the state doesn't give you your values until sometime in August. And so it's kind of like, so every year you go through the process of usually doing back pay because, you know, you don't, you know, there's some things you just don't do, but some things have to take effect on July 1st. And so, but I don't see any real problems. I don't know why our tax monies, tax dollars won't come in fairly close to what we're seeing. We looked at the entitlement funds. They'll probably go up a little bit, and some of the things the legislature, we didn't think that the legislature done anything we don't know about on this property tax thing, what they're going to do. At the time of our meeting, they were still either signing or vetoing bills that were going to maybe affect some. And I think he's all through now. I'm not sure.
I do have an update on that.
What's that?
I calculated on the bill that they passed for changing how they calculate the taxes. And if this year was based on the new formula, we would have lost $3,000 in revenue. So it's not a big difference. That's going off of last year's assessed values and all of that. So the new calculation that the legislature just changed.
So we talked about one of the major things we looked at was that the cost of our health insurance is going to increase significantly this year, and we're also looking at some possible increase in costs in our comp insurance. I guess we'll have to see on them. Well, we're not going to see on them that they are going up, and so as far as talking about employee raises and stuff, we took into consideration the cost of the health insurance. We certainly are going to continue to give health insurance and absorb the cost. And then we also talked about a raise for the employees. And at this time, we're going to propose a 4% raise for the employees. Unless something changes our mind, it's not chiseled in stone by any means, whether I don't think we're going to go any higher than 4, but if we have to, we could reduce it if the money's not there. So George,
You did well, sir.
Roxy? Okay. That's all I can remember, and I'm old. I don't remember a lot of stuff.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Are there any other? None? Okay, for unfinished business,
Mr. Mayor, on unfinished business, would you move item D, which is the decision on a resolution
sure.
approving 50105 East Adams to more than 4 dogs? Would you move that to the end of unfinished business? Because that's going to be more of a work session. we're going to use this as an educational experience.
Okay.
You see, George already started making like words at me.
So that will be moved to the end. Thank you. All right. Okay, Kelly, on unfinished business, do we have any update on flood mitigation?
They're hoping this month to have the conditional letter and map revision for the project sent into FEMA, so they can look at the whole project and make sure they're in agreement with what the engineers have come up with before we actually do the project. So hopefully that'll go out this month. We don't know how long it'll take for the review, but we're hoping a month or two. They are on board with MDT, and they finally came to an agreement that there'll be 4 culverts under the highway out there, and MDT is on board with that. So we'll have to find a place to possibly get those, or whoever bids to do them. We tried the lumberyard here to see if they could build them, and they're too big for something that they can build. So there's a couple places in Bozeman and that, but it's moving ahead. It's you guys approved the first draw last meeting. They haven't got the money yet, but no one's called us back and sent it in saying we're not going to give you the money. So we're moving ahead with it. So hopefully we'll be on schedule to have it done first part of next year.
Good. Looking for the whole draw, so we make sure we get it before they change it.
Yeah, we're trying to get it done as soon as possible.
Hey, anything else, Kelly, for that?
Nope.
That's it. Thank you. Water project update. Is Susan on?
She's not.
She's not.
She's not. Okay, and I think Jean did a pretty good job with what we were talking about. Okay, item C, the continuation of public hearing held January 8, 2025, and the decision and resolution on number 436/2025, accepting the amended April 2025 service area reports and impact fee advisory committee's recommended impact fees for fire, water, wastewater, transportation, and municipal buildings. City of Three Forks, Montana, Resolution 436/2025, adopting the revised impact fee schedule recommended by the Impact Fee Advisory Committee as provided by 3-6-11 of Three Forks Municipal Code. Whereas the City of Three Forks first adopted a capital improvement plan, CIP, in 2006, and adopted the impact fees based on projects within the document. Whereas the City Council spent 2022 and 2023 working with their engineers and consultants to prepare a detailed and comprehensive update to the CIP. The new CIP adopted August 13, 2024 via resolution number 427-2024. Whereas section 7-6-1604 MCA requires the city to establish an impact fee advisory committee to revise its capital improvements plan, then calculate and assess and recommend impact fees for the help fund municipal infrastructure necessitated by growth through the IFAC labeled Exhibit A. Whereas the City Council appointed volunteers to the IFCA in September 2023, the committee stayed comprised of all drafts and updates to the CIP and held meetings on January 24th, March 2nd, September 18th, October 16th, November 20th, 24 to discuss the service area reports being prepared for each facility. Whereas section 7-6-1602 MCA authorizes the governing body to impose impact fees that are valid for up to 5 years based on service area reports. The IFAC determined there was supporting evidence to adopt new service area reports and impact fees for water, wastewater, fire protection, transportation, and municipal buildings. Whereas on December 10th, 2024, the IFAC sent its recommendations to the city council in public for review. Whereas a city council's public hearing on IFAC recommendation is set for January 28th, 2025, at which the council indicated that it would support the IFAC recommendation to moderate the trail transportation. That hearing was trial transportation. That hearing was continued until February 11th, 2025, due to issues on the hearing notice and need for additional discussion. Whereas at the February 11th, 2025 public hearing, the city attorney advised the city council not to adopt the proposed large-scale commercial development recommended in the service area reports, instead to act on the impact fee advisory committee to review and revise that part of its recommendation. Whereas the impact fee advisory committee met again on March 4th, 2025, Exhibit B, and reported replacing the provisions for large-scale commercial development for impact fees for larger projects being based on water meter size and the number of parking spaces proposed. Whereas pursuant to section 7-1-4131 MCA, all meetings were open to the public and advertised on the city's website, Facebook page, and around town at physical locations, as is the city policy. Whereas in accordance to section 7-1-4127 MCA, this resolution public hearings was published in the Bozeman Daily Chronicle on January 15th and 18th, 2025, in the Belgrade News on January 9th, 2025, and the Three Forks Voice on January 15th and 22nd, 2025, as well as posted on the city's website, city Facebook page, and around town at various physical locations. Due to the continuation of this hearing, this public hearing was published again in the Bozeman Daily Chronicle on 5/24, in the Belgrade News on 5/29, and in the Three Forks Voice on 5/28 and 6/4/2025, as well as posted on the city's website and Facebook pages and around town as is city policy. Now therefore be it resolved by the city council that it has received the recommended impact fees for water, wastewater, fire protection, transportation, and municipal buildings provided by the Impact Fee Advisory Committee on March 4th, 2025, and hereby adopts an updated recommended fees in Table 2 of the service area reports dated April 2025, labeled as Exhibit C. Now therefore be it resolved that all impact fees, water, wastewater, transportation, municipal buildings, fire protection, and southeast residential are effective as of this date and will remain in effect until the next revision and update to complete a new resolution that supersedes this one. So at this time, Kelly?
Liaison.
Okay, it says, I wanted you folks here, it says in that middle paragraph on the last page of it, it says Table 2 of for the, this is one that was recommended by the impact fee, and so it's back in here. So it's on page 21 of that report. Did everybody want to find it? Okay. All right, so there are two, they recommended this, and Lee, would you like to say anything? I'd just like the council to look at the part of this document that says total impact fees, and it gives the list of multifamilies per unit, single family and multifamily and on down and clear into transportation. So Lee, would you like to say something on this topic?
Well, we've been through this at some length and ended up not too far from where we started in terms of calculating the fees. We've been dealing with procedural issues. I think the notable thing is that water and sewer fees are easy to calculate, pretty cut and dried, and have been well managed by the city up until this point. We added fees for some other purposes, as you are entitled by law to do. And we'll raise some money through these fees for fire protection, for a feasibility study on future municipal building needs. And for transportation, which as the city grows, presuming that it grows as we expect it might once the flood mitigation project is done, transportation is going to become a bigger issue, particularly with the addition that we anticipate of a pretty fair number of homes to the southeast and ultimately also homes on the north edge. So you would be beginning to save money to accumulate savings for transportation projects that deal with major intersections. You would be beginning to look at whether or not, almost certainly, the city needs new municipal building space at some point, although your remodeling has gone so well. I think that, we're trying to anticipate the future, trying to build some reserves to use beyond what you might, with increasing uncertainty, get in the form of grants, loans, what you might charge in the way of user fees. And so I think the slate of impact fees continues the way you've managed water and sewer impact fees and expands it in a small way, really. The other thing I guess I will say finally is that when you look at the three total fees that would be paid here, they are quite modest relative to the fees that are charged elsewhere in Gallatin County, and quite modest relative to building costs as we understand them. So I don't think the city is overreaching with what it is asking for here. I think it is simply trying to manage well, as it has, by building up some reserves to use for these facilities. And beyond that, I think it's better for me to answer questions than to continue.
Any questions for the council?
Like Lee said, we had gone over this pretty thoroughly previously. I don't have any new questions.
And what I looked at, council, is page 18 was table 1. And if you looked at the total impact fees, like for multifamily, it was $10,084.97. And to me, what they said here, the IFAC felt that it would discourage investment in town for housing and businesses. So if you look at the new table, it's down to $5,329.66. But the ball is in your court here on which one that's recommended by the IFAC to choose table 2, but it's up to you folks to decide what you want to do. Kelly.
I have a couple things. The first one was when we talked about this before, I had thought that the council had decided to do the higher amount for the Southeast District instead of the lower amount. I looked back in the minutes and it doesn't specifically say that, but at the IFAC meeting after that meeting, it was said that was the impression that they had too, that it would be higher. But we can't go straight to table one, because then that makes the commercial at $20 a square foot, and you guys have talked about the $9 a square foot, which is on table two. So my opinion is this maybe needs to be continued, because what the whereas that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where it says the IFAC recommendations were set for January 28th. The council indicated they would support those. I don't think that's what happened at that meeting. I think you guys wanted to do the higher in the southeast and everything else the lower, but that might be my recollection being different. But then 2 whereas is down from there. It also says that in March, in the service area reports, we came up with large scale development suggestions, and that's not on the schedule at all. So that schedule doesn't say what we're going to charge for anything over 4,000 square feet in commercial. And I think that should be added, like we need to maybe not use the schedules in the service area, maybe create one that has everything you guys want. On the whereas, I don't think table 2 is all we need the large scale development. And my last thing is do we need a whereas, because the legislature changed on Senate Bill 133 that we can't charge the 5% administrative fee anymore. And in the service area reports, it says we're going to charge that, and now we can't. So I don't know if we need a whereas to say we're not charging it because of the legislature. So those are my things.
But I don't think that part, because we did discuss that 5%. That it was either removed.
I think you did in the ordinance.
Oh, maybe that's.
But not in the resolution.
Okay.
So I don't know if this needs to be continued or if we can change those things. That's
No,
probably a question. for
It's on
Susan.
page 4 about the 5% administration.
Yeah, but it's not in the resolution.
Okay.
So I didn't know if it needed to be. That part I didn't know if it needed to be in the resolution.
Susan, what's your comment on this?
Well, my comment, and it's always subject to Lee having a different opinion, which I'm more than willing to hear, which is that what you're doing right now is you are accepting the, what do we call them? IFAC report, right? And then your next step after this is in 2 weeks, I think. We're planning to present to you a draft resolution for impact fees. So you could certainly accept this report and then take into consideration Kelly's recommendations at the actual impact fee, as long as we make the findings. This is starting as a theme for the evening, as long as you make the findings to say, here's what we intend to do. And then when you get in 2 weeks, you actually make findings to say, we consider this and we decided X or Y. Does that make sense?
Makes more sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly.
But it's
Appreciate
not
that.
in 2 weeks, it would be a whole month away.
Okay, a month, sorry, a month.
Okay, then, does the council have any questions of Susan?
Just a clarifying question on this. So if we vote on this today, it's accepting what the IFAC had, like their presentation.
Correct.
And then in our next meeting, we would be able to add or change any of the recommendations, such as like Kelly said, or if anybody else had something they wanted to throw in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what procedurally what would happen is when we hear the next one, you're going to get a resolution that says, here are the proposed impact fees. And it's on you guys to say, we want this to say this, or we want to change it. So you might very well get the next one, which will be in a month, July 8th, right? And you might look at it and then you're going to come with it marked up saying, well, I don't want this. Here's what we thought we were going to do. We learned this information. And so I would propose to amend this proposed ordinance in this way.
You need to change the second, therefore be a result, because it says they're effective as of, the impact fees are effective as of this date. Then
I looked at that and I mean, I think we could adopt this and right? Because it's gonna, the impact, this is what we intend to do, but that we're not bound by it, right? So.
So, council.
I'd like to make a motion. I think is what I'm supposed to do now. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution 436-2025, adopting the revised impact fee schedule recommended by the Impact Fee Advisory Committee as provided by 3611 of the Three Forks Municipal Code.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Does the public have anything? No? Then we'll have the vote. George,
Yes.
Reagan,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes,
Garrett,
Yes.
and Roxy.
Yes.
Okay, our next item would be section E, decision on whether or not to accept the Three Forks Chambers offer on Christmas decorations. So this letter is from the Three Forks Chamber of Commerce, and the subject is Christmas lights. And it says, would the city be interested in taking over the responsibility for Christmas lights? Fortunately, we don't have the necessary equipment to handle it efficiently within our time and budget constraints. However, we'd be happy to donate all the Main Street decorations we currently have, along with many boxes of lights in storage, all of which are in working order. If the city isn't interested, our next step would be to reach out to other Three Forks organizations to see if they would like to take on the project.
And the project is hanging lights or decorations and/or decorations?
Both, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I have a question, Roxy,
Yes.
if the city did that, would they have to store these? Or would you guys still store them?
We can still store them. You don't have to store them.
And then,
We have the space.
and then I found out that from the city crew that they would be willing to do this. But the big thing is in hanging them, we don't have a boom cart, so we'd have to rent one. So,
Or ask for one donation.
okay, Jean?
Yeah, I talked to the city crew after Roxy had brought this up, and they said, that's usually not a real busy time of the year for them unless it starts snowing on November 15th and doesn't quit till whenever, but their biggest concern was to do it safely. And, again, not having a boom truck or a lift truck or something like that. But they said they thought that they could work it into their schedule to do. And I did that to Roxy the other day at our council or committee meeting, but they said they'd be willing. But again, the thing that you brought up is that they couldn't think of any place to store them and stuff.
So you would continue to store
Yeah.
them for the city?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have plenty of space to store them. We just don't have the manpower to put them up.
The other question I have is, what condition are they in?
So many of them are brand new. They just ordered new ones the year before this.
Okay.
So a lot of them are brand new, and we tested all the lights, and the lights are all in working order. So
Okay, that was their question.
we threw away anything that was yucky this year when I cleaned up the shed. You're welcome.
And then their other question was, would there be somebody on site with them, making sure they're putting in the right decoration in the right place? I mean, what they're saying is that we don't want to hang a bunch and then have to come back and say, well, we really didn't want that there. Why didn't you put it there?
Well, I don't think anybody really.
I think there is a specific order, actually, it's
Is
been
there?
pretty consistent, so maybe just a map
Sure.
should be done from.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Mhm.
that was just questions they had.
Yeah. You betcha.
Okay, thank you.
So the concern with the man lift thing is, it would be a cost to the city to rent one, or someone would lend us one, is that the idea?
I think that the city crew said that the chamber needed to come up with a device for them to put up the lights at no cost to the city.
Like the chamber would get a donation?
Like Steerin
Mhm.
sometimes donates their lift.
For 2 days or whatever.
Yeah.
it is, Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that will all be handled.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is that a condition upon which the city's accepting this? Is that the chamber will always ensure that the lift necessary is provided at no cost to the city? Of course, and then that would be in exchange for the chamber storing your lights for free.
Not our lights.
Well, I think they are becoming your
Yeah,
lights.
but like we want to give it away, like,
I guess I didn't understand it that way. I guess I understood it was your lights. And you were asking the city if there was any way that the city crew could put them up for you. Because and that's one of the other things that, so 3 years from now, and they all decide to quit working like Christmas decorations do, are we gonna be the party responsible for replacing them?
yes, I would say that what we're trying to do is not be responsible for it anymore. Just because we don't have the manpower to do it. And I think in a
I'm not
lot of
concerned
other,
about the manpower. I'm concerned about the cost of lights and replacing lights.
Yeah.
right. And it's, I mean, if it's not something that you guys want to take on, that's fine. A lot of cities, it's the city's responsibility to do the Christmas decorating. And I know the chamber has done it for however long, but it was a struggle this year. I wasn't really a part of it this year because I had just joined. So I don't know exactly what all the struggles were, but I know that it's just something that they don't want to be in charge of anymore. So if it's not something you're interested in, that's okay also. You know, we'll look at other options, but we just wanted to offer it to you first.
I don't want to speak for the other 5 members of the council. That was my understanding of it after that meeting the other day, that you were just looking for somebody to put up the lights.
So what you understood, Gina, is it was an agreement that the chamber would maintain them, own them, store them, and the city would donate the labor, which is covered by insurance and all of that, to actually put them up.
Yes.
That's
fine.
very different than, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
think it
didn't
makes-
actually write this letter either. She just isn't part of the chamber anymore, so she's not here.
I think it makes total sense for the city to take on putting up the lights and ordering new lights in the future. It's our downtown and we have the Christmas stroll and I just think it benefits the whole city. So maybe, you know, we can create a budget item, you know, in the future and allocate money towards that.
Crystal?
Well, I'll wait till the council's all done talking.
Garrett?
So just jotting some notes here to make sure that I got the conditions right. So the city would own the lights. City would be responsible for maintenance and taking care of the lights. The city would install the lights. The chamber would be giving the lights to the city. They would store the lights themselves, and the chamber would supply means to safely install them from a donated. And that one's kind of the fence.
Yeah.
Council? What do you want to do?
I guess I really have a problem with owning the lights. I think we need to look at the larger picture as if somebody else comes along and says, would you put up a statue of the 10 Commandments in your city park? Because this is, you know, Christmas to me is a religious holiday. And I mean, I've been a part of the stroll for a number of years, and I still think that there ought to be other organizations and somebody, I mean, that has a little skin in the game. And so when you take over this part of it and the responsibility of it, I really don't know if it's a city function. I'm not, I mean, I know that in Bozeman, the city of Bozeman does not buy the spiders. That's bought by the Downtown Association. It's put up by the fire department. I don't know how much the city helps, but I think it's reasonable that we help put them up, but I really have a problem with owning them. That's just Gene, so I can vote one way or the other.
And I think I really think that's more than we ought to be doing, as far as owning them. Down the road, we're gonna have to replace them all but I mean, I'm not totally opposed to it. I just think it's more than maybe we're either bite off doing, but like I say, I'm not totally opposed to it either, but.
Crystal, what do you want to say?
Well, I was just gonna say, as a public, I agree. I think Christmas is I'm a Christian, but I think Christmas is a religious holiday. And the city does not put on the Christmas stroll. It is put on by the chamber, and it is a chamber event. We don't have anything to do with it at all, other than our guys helping to clean up or put out barricades or to clean up the garbage, which we're responsible for anyways. And I think, I mean, seeing the catalogs that come here for those decorations, they are upwards of $1,000 for each one. They're very expensive, and so I think you guys need to think about that when you're talking about adding a budget line item to replace them throughout year to year.
Kelly?
And to add to that, it would be tax dollars. So does the taxpayers want us buying Christmas decorations, which is my concern.
Right.
Council, do you want to make a motion on for or against? Or George?
I make a motion that we respectfully decline the chamber's offer to take over the Christmas decorations.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Does the public have anything to say?
Yeah,
Gloria?
well, a lot of this town, every business in this town is gonna profit from that. Do you agree? From having the city decorated for the stroll and everything else. I mean, I know it's expensive, but maybe you could get some of the business owners to.
So we're still putting on the stroll.
Huh?
We're still putting on the stroll. This won't have anything to do with the stroll. That's completely two separate things.
Well, it brings people into town and they're not good. It's not gonna be very fun if there's no Christmas decorations.
We'll, like I said, we're gonna find other we'll go looking at other organizations. We just wanted to give it to this, offer the city first, because there are some cities who do take care of this.
Yeah.
And so, that's where we were sitting, just wanting to offer the city first. And if they decline, that's fine. We're gonna go to other organizations and see, because I mean, there's other organizations, FFA, things like that, where maybe the kids want to be a part of it and they're gonna wanna help, So, I mean, there's other organizations and other places we can go to find out, so.
George, did your motion still include the city helping hang them? Or did completely stay out of it?
It doesn't. It says that this, if he respectfully declines the chamber's offer to take over the Christmas decorations. It doesn't have anything else.
Okay, so we're completely out of it then?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded. We'll have the vote. George?
Yes.
Reagan?
No.
Jean?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Roxy?
I won't vote.
Abstain?
Abstain.
There we go.
Yes.
Good job.
Okay, so motion is,
Present.
motion is declined. Okay, our next item. A decision on whether or not to recommend an elected official as the Three Forks representative to participate in Gallatin Drought and Deluge Adoptive Management Plan or DAMP meetings on or financially contributing. So the only thing I want to read on this thing would be the project description, but I'd like to read that part, and then I'd like to show you other things in this document. It says the purpose of the Gallatin Drought and Deluge Adoptive Management Plan is to coordinate drought communication and voluntary conversation. This is part 2 of the thing, I'm sorry, of conversations, efforts across the entire Gallatin watershed, and to identify long-term mitigation and response action that build resilience, effective management during times of drought and deluge. 1, to coordinate communication and public outreach to raise awareness of drought, deluge conditions, and promote best management practices. Robust public outreach and engagement will ensure that communication voluntary actions and recommendations to have support and real impact. To promote stakeholder collaboration and coordination to develop the regional approach to drought and deluge risk and mitigation by building Gallatin Dam. The various efforts across the watershed can be linked and built a framework where public and private partners can use consistent messaging and coordinated voluntary actions. 3, identify long-term mitigation and adaptation projects to reduce the impacts of drought and deluge and low and high flows. Gallatin Dam will provide an opportunity to identify long-term mitigation opportunities that may include measures such as groundwater recharge, microbasin catchments, nature-based solutions like beaver dam analogs, land use and development standards, floodplain connectivity opportunities for reuse, on-site storage, irrigation conveyance, water banking or leasing and restoration. These approaches benefit water resources and community needs in times of drought and deluge. So the selected contractor will facilitate a series of 4 to 6 stakeholder meetings, compile technical information and research, and leverage information gathered by both stakeholders and research to develop the Gallatin Drought and Deluge and Adaptive Management Plan. The dam plan is expected to contain the following elements: drought monitoring, mitigation actions, voluntary assessment, response actions on operational administrative framework, community outreach strategy, and plain update process. The plan's development will enable stakeholders across the Gallatin watershed to more effectively assess funding and implement mitigation actions outlined in the dam plan. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit here. Part 3 project. This project is funded by the Montana Environmental Quality Reclamation and Development Planning Grant by Gallatin County. The total available budget is for this contract is $42,500. And then it goes on to say, GWC is actively pursuing additional funding to enhance the project's technical research components. Respondents should provide a scope of work that reflects the current secured budget. In addition, please include an expanded scope of work or describe how additional funding is secured and would be prioritized to strengthen and enrich the final plan. Should additional funding be secured, the total contractor budget is to increase to 75,000. So in looking at this, and then on page 5, they've already had 2 of the meetings, which we didn't know about, and the consultant is going to be selected on 6/16, which it looks to me like maybe an engineer is involved and they want to pick one. So it's, this is what I've read for the Gallatin watershed, and it's up to you guys to decide.
So we're deciding on whether or not we want to send an elected official to these meetings.
Right.
And what is this and/or financially contributing?
In their email that they originally sent, they asked for both. That's what I distributed at the last meeting, but it was just in my report, it wasn't.
Okay.
And I'll pull it up.
And would it benefit this into the valley?
That's a good question.
Gene?
Well, who oversees this group?
The Gallatin County Commissioner.
So it's a county,
It's a county.
so the county got the grant for 42,500.
This is what Jennifer Boyer came and brought to you guys like over a year and a half ago. And yes, the county put out, the board maybe put it out in conjunction with the county. But they released the RFP to put this out, and then they're aiming to, like you said on that back page of 5, that they're aiming to find a contractor and award it. They're hoping to involve a wide range of voices from across the watershed, and your input would be incredibly valuable in shaping the plan and making sure it reflects the needs of the whole community. So far, we've raised $50,000 through the DNRC grant in partnership with Gallatin County. We're working on another 30 to 50,000 to support additional research, engagement, and plan development. Any support Three Forks can offer, whether it be participating at the DAMP working group, helping spread the word, or contributing financially, it would be amazing.
Any discussion?
Are these dates the only meetings that they have, or is it like a
The
weekly
only
deal?
ones that they talked about. I don't know when their monthly meetings or anything like that yet.
And if we did decide who would want to do it, to go.
I suppose we have to decide that too? Or can we decide that later?
Next meeting is the 16th.
Oh, yeah.
The time
Or
on
do we
here,
want to do
or
it?
not.
I mean, seems worthwhile to me to go to the meetings. I don't know about financial contribution, just because I don't feel like I really know enough about the project.
Yeah, I think if there is someone available to at least go to one meeting and see what it's about. And I also don't think that they need any of our taxpayer money.
Any other discussion? What would you like to do, council?
Is anybody available to go to any of these meetings?
Looking at my calendar,
Yeah.
I'm a little, I mean, this doesn't really say meeting schedule, it says project schedule, so. I don't really know.
Why don't we, I mean, when you guys decide if you're gonna send somebody, why don't we just touch base with this Holly that reached out originally and ask when the meeting schedules are, and that if you're not saying anything about money yet, that we're not ready until we learn more, discuss that, something like that. And then I can get back to you with dates if you say someone will be there, because you don't know the dates yet.
Yeah, I think we need to find out what the dates are.
I think, yeah, I feel like we should move forward with sending an elected official. I would be willing to go, as long as there's not like crazy meetings. I can handle a meeting on now and then,
It's an unknown.
It's an unknown, but I think it's a worthy cause. We are affected by droughts and deluge, so, or we could be.
At the very least, it'd be nice to know what's going on in the meeting, if it does affect our end of the valley or not.
So then, Crystal will find out about the meetings. See if that works with your schedule, Randy.
I think you should still make a motion to appoint somebody, or to say someone will attend the meetings and that that you're not making a decision on the money and that we need to find out the dates.
Or do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that oh, sorry.
No.
You want to do it?
No.
Okay. I'll make a motion to, that the city of Three Forks will look into sending an elected official to this meeting, the Gallatin watershed.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Does the public have any discussion?
Well, I would think that the approach of just sending a representative is probably the best idea, because I do not think that the Three Forks, Manhattan area will be considered in any of the things that they're looking at their end of the valley. So to see what the stipulations are, what the qualifications are, good to show up without a commitment.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, we moved and seconded. We'll have the vote. George?
Yeah.
Reagan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
And Roxy?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like the floor?
I'm waiting for you to call the next agenda item. Mr.
Our
You're not
next
doing the
agenda
board.
item. First, I had to go through that.
I know.
Okay, our next agenda item will be, decision on a resolution approving 105 East Adams Street for more than 4 dogs. I will read that.
No, please
Okay.
don't read that. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Susan Swimley, your city attorney, and I drafted this resolution for you because you need an exercise in governance and findings. George is correct. You enacted an ordinance that said 4 dogs. 3, you can have 3 that are licensed. If you have 4, you have to get a permit for the 4. And the first time that someone came forward and said, well, first of all, the application that was presented to you never said they had 5 dogs. If you read that application closely, it said they had 3 and they wanted 4. But it turned out factually there were 5 dogs living there. So I'm going to walk you guys through kind of a critical thinking issue and making some findings, because I don't know how many of you heard Crystal give you really, really good advice, and she invoked the name of Susan in her really, really good advice, because somebody asked her about, well, Crystal, can we even do this? And Crystal said, I think Susan would tell you, you would need to make really good findings. And then nobody did that. And I would tell you from the beginning of this, are you guys familiar with the acronym FUBAR? Okay, good, then I won't repeat it on the public record. This started poorly and it never got better, okay? And I don't attend your second meeting of the month for a lot of reasons. And but this came to my attention because of George calling me, and I hate to have to admit on the public record that George is right. It just kills me. But he called me, he said, I know what you're gonna say, because what you're gonna say is, now that we've approved 5 dogs in any house, that ordinance is useless. Because what am I gonna do? How am I gonna tell anybody else in the world you can't have 5 dogs when you guys already said, sure, 5's okay, and you didn't make any reasons why 5 was okay? George's point is very well taken, okay? Which is why I drafted this for you. But there are tricks and deceit and misinformation in here. And the other part of this exercise for you is that you vote on these things. It's not me who votes on it. I write them. Crystal writes them, Kelly writes them. We normally try and write them intentionally to be the very best product. So you don't have to go back and wordsmith it. You don't have to go back and do that. But it is your obligation when you are voting to approve it or not, to be sure that it's factually correct and that the statements say what you wanted them to say. So let's start with the first whereas. The first whereas tells you that ordinance 6-4A-3, which is the, you can have 3 and you need a permit for 4, was enacted on November 24th, number 10th, 2024. All ordinances after their second reading become effective 30 days thereafter. So that's why you see the 2 dates. And you should always be aware of that when you're reading anything that says if it's adopted on, ordinance adopted on date X, you should always be clicking in your mind, well, it was adopted on that date, but was it already enacted or was that just adopted? Because that's a loophole in which you could step. You're frowning, so I'm going to call on you. By the way, I want to tell you, when I started this, there was never any discussion at the council. I was freaked out when I came. Every vote was 100% in favor, and there was never any discussion. And so the first time I made the council actually talk, Kelly Whitseth frowned, and I went, Kelly, you're frowning. I think you have a question. And she goes, oh, Terry Whitseth. And I said, you're frowning. I think you have a question. And she looked at me and she goes, no, I've just never been asked. And so, Reagan, you're frowning.
So you're saying there is a loophole, or there can be if it doesn't say that it's becoming when it's effective?
There can be, depending on what you're being asked to do.
Okay.
So if you're presented as something that says, for this example, it says it was passed on November 10th. So what if this application had come in on November 20th? this ordinance had been passed, but it wasn't effective yet.
Okay.
So I want you, lawyers we're terrible people. We live in terrible places. You don't really want to know what I think about parked cars that have been there too long. I mean, I went and asked my neighbor yesterday, like, because there's a car parked in front of their unit at my office. It's been there 7 days. I'm like, do you know who that is? And they said, oh yeah, it's my niece. I'm like, great. And they go, why? And I'm like, well, because people going to jail who aren't supposed to drive and they don't want their car forfeited by the Gallatin County Sheriff's Department park in my lot, so they're not parking at the detention center. So, I mean, I don't live in a good place. And ask Crystal how many times I've said, well, what about this? And she goes, you don't live in a good place. I'm like, I don't. Okay, so I will tell you that next whereas, John and Sarah Jorgensen moved in to live with Sarah's father, Harold Ralston, at 105 East Adams Street, Three Forks, during May of 2024. Does anybody remember where you learned that fact?
Thanks, Sarah told us.
You are right. That is a true fact that you heard in your public meeting, right? Now, the next one says, on May of 2024, and prior to the enactment of the additional dog ordinance, which allows for people to have 3 or more dogs to apply for a kennel license, which at the time, prior to that enactment, people who had 3 or more dogs could apply for a kennel license for an unspecified number of dogs over 3. You all remember that was the law before we did this one? Okay, so now look really carefully at that next sentence. It says, between May of 2024 and April of 2025, no person residing at 105 East Adams sought the city's approval of a kennel license, nor licensed the dogs living at 105 East Adams. What's wrong with that sentence? There's something wrong there. Let me ask it this way. If somebody had come in December on December 15th of 2024, could they have applied for a kennel license?
No.
So what's wrong with that sentence, George?
Oh, because, sorry,
Cool.
Go ahead.
because we changed the wording. It's not a kennel license.
I changed the wording.
Right.
Right.
It's a dog permit, additional dog permit.
Yes. So, I mean, that should really be 2 sentences, right? Nobody between May of 2024 and December 10th of 2024 applied for a kennel license. And nobody between May of 2024 and present applied for licensing for the dogs. 2 different facts, but when I smush them together, it changes, right? And then the next whereas just says, with the enactment of the additional dog permit, the city terminated the avenue to seek a kennel license in favor of the additional dog permit. That is true. Okay. Then you get to the next one, and Garrett raised this one at the meeting, and it was like one of the first questions that was asked. It says, upon the enactment of the additional dog permit, it became unlawful for any person, group, family group, or group of persons in the same dwelling to keep, harbor, or maintain more than 4 dogs of any age with or without an issued permit in and upon any property. And Garrett asked, and at some point in the meeting brought up that last phrase, which was with or without an issued permit in or upon the property. Okay. And I think your question is why, or what does that phrase mean? Like something like that, right? You wondered?
It's something me bringing it up because it said with or without issued permit, and I just wanted clarification on that. I don't really know what my question was in the moment.
But
but
that's okay.
I knew I needed more
You
information.
brought it up, right? So then I would say to you, when you look at that, so think about the situations in which you're reading ordinances for purposes of enforcement, because that is also ultimately your decision to enforce the ordinances as we write them, right? And what you said is no one may have then more than 4 dogs, whether they have a permit or whether they don't have a permit. So you can't get a permit, right, for 4 dogs and then harbor 6. You say, well, 6 is okay because I've got a permit for 4, right? But that may be something to mark and go, okay, well, if it's not clear in the moment, then what do you do as a council member that you're concerned about the drafting and the intent? What is your step as a council member?
Ask for clarification about that sentence and get more information about it.
Sure. And if you can't get it any more clear than it is, or you think it's unclear and it needs more clarification,
Postpone and ask someone who knows more, like talk to you about it in a different meeting or something.
Sure, and a request for interpretation, that's one of the things, or you could say, you know what? This is confusing, I didn't read it as confusing when we enacted it, it needs to go back to the ordinance committee for better language, right? Those are you, but the interpretation of it is also a valid thing to say. This is an ordinance and I need an interpretation. And again, you say, you know what, I can't make this decision because it's an ordinance and I don't really know what this means and it will affect the outcome, right? Both of those are really good, strong, valid, short-term and long-term maneuvers to address something you see in the ordinance that is unclear. We write them, we think they make sense, and it's only when you look at them later that you go, yeah, I looked at that clause and went, well, I know what I think it means, but that's me thinking it, yeah.
So like in the moment, there's something that I cannot understand in my little pea brain. And
no, I'm not going to take any self-deprecation.
Okay, sorry. There's something that I cannot understand, and I can't get it answered in that meeting. The thing I need to do at that point is say, I need to send this ordinance back to the ordinance committee to get clarification on X, Y, Z.
Sure, and you could have said, I am not comfortable moving forward anymore with this hearing at this point.
Okay.
Because I don't know what this means, and so I want to ask the city attorney for an interpretation, and I want to see if it's important enough that we would send it to the ordinance committee, right? Could do both, one, other, both, right? Okay. So, read the next two whereases, right? Prior to the city council meeting on May 27th, the city's attention was called to 105 East Adams, the dog's house thereupon, by a neighbor complaining about being bit by a dog residing at 105 East Adams while the neighbor's dog was at 105 East Adams. At the time of the dog investigation, which there was no further action requested, the city learned that the dogs lived at 105 East Adams, were not licensed, and exceeded the total number enacted by the additional dog permit. Who knows that? Was anybody curious about why all of a sudden we found a house with 5 dogs where nobody was complaining?
Actually, she complained after the fact.
Who complained after that? The lady who got bit?
The lady that got bit.
I presumably, and I will tell you, I talked to Des about that, and I don't know that that's even a true fact, George. That is like fourth-hand rumor for me. I don't know that that's true. And when I asked Des about it tonight, he goes, that's not how I heard it. So I want you to know, in this room right now, there is no specific fact about whether there was a dog bite or whether there wasn't a dog, nothing. I just want you to know that. I made that up. So just a minute, Gloria. Yeah.
The person that got bit spoke to me about that
After the hearing.
after the fact.
So you didn't know?
After the bite, she said.
After the bite.
Right. Okay. So I bring this, just go ahead.
I just have a question. Is this document we're reading something that you just wrote, or this is?
I wrote it after I watched your hearing and
Okay.
read the application.
Okay.
And talked to people.
So, because the dog bite thing wasn't in our discussion.
You're correct.
Okay.
No one told you that.
Okay.
Right? Yes.
But what we were told is that there had been no complaints.
Right.
Correct.
So if there've been no complaints, how do we know there's 5 dogs? How does anybody show up on that property if nobody's complained? Doesn't that seem odd to you? Garrett?
There was actually a dog bite.
I don't know.
Right, you do not know.
I
There is
don't know.
some sort of, there is a rumor of a dog bite, hypothetically speaking, maybe.
I don't know.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
I present you something like this in your hearing and you say, wait a minute, I don't remember that. Right? I never heard that. And George, I appreciate that somebody talked to you afterwards, but you didn't know it at the time of the hearing and you didn't know at the time of the decision. So you don't know it, do you? It is not a fact you heard. But it could be the question you ask. And again, when you ask that question and nobody can answer it, what would you do?
Be suspicious.
Well, I'm always suspicious, but what would you do if you're suspicious, right?
Drill down on that question.
Right, and if nobody can
Postpone
answer
it
it, if nobody
until-
can answer it, does it matter to you why we were on the property? Would that have maybe led to other information that would have been relevant in your discussion?
Might have made me ask more questions.
So it would have, may have very well led to other things that would be relevant, right? So in our exercise, what are you gonna do with these 2 paragraphs? Take out your pen, or in your case, your finger, and do what you're gonna do to those. Because you're still working on a document that's supposed to be making findings, right? What are you gonna do? I wanna see you do it. There we go, look at that, Garrett's first, he's number
Okay.
one, cross it out. You don't know that either of those two things happen, right? Okay. But you did know, because if you read the application and you read the things, you did know that they came in and applied saying they had 3 dogs and they want a permit for 4 dogs, but they had 5 dogs. And you knew that 5 dogs was more than the ordinance allowed. So they were asking for a permit for something that didn't exist. What is that? Why is this before you? Tell me why it got to you.
They got caught with the dogs and
Yeah, so what? If somebody gets caught speeding, do they come here?
no, they would go to a judge or something like that.
It would go to your code enforcement and your deputies, right?
Okay.
So how about if I get caught speeding and instead of being cited by the deputy, I come here and say, you guys should decide it was okay for me to speed? It's just as viable, it's just as viable. Absolutely the same enforcement, absolutely the same enactment of an ordinance, right? So now as you all sit there with hindsight, which is always a wonderful thing to have, hindsight is always 20/20, right? And this shows up again for you, and it shows up on your agenda. Instead of calling it and considering a request for a kennel license that doesn't exist, or a request for permission to violate the ordinance, what might you be discussing instead?
Options. 4 other dogs and 3 other picks per dog.
Options. This isn't our ordinance says 4, and this is a matter for enforcement, and it should be brought through enforcement, not for a permit or a deviation or a variance to an ordinance that we didn't write in any of those things. How, Crystal?
So they applied for one, we accepted their money as an application. Should we before it even comes to the council, not even accept the application?
What did they apply for?
An additional dog permit.
And it said they had only 4 dogs.
And it said they
Yeah.
only had 4 dogs.
Oh,
So no,
No, okay, yeah, because I'm looking at the letter right now.
Right. It's
It says
letter
there's only, it doesn't say the total, but that they would get down to 3 when they had to
right,
be in compliance.
right.
So
So
In the
So we
notice,
didn't
I-
know.
but I did read that as the application that there was 4. And I sent it to all the neighbors that they had 4 dogs.
then.
Yes. Yes, and at some point we learned they have 5,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, now,
That question was asked at the meeting, either George or me asked, how many dogs are we talking about? And
and
because I felt there was 5 dogs there, and they said 4, and then I was really confused.
well, they said 4, and then she said, well, there's this really old one that doesn't have any teeth, and then we heard about the other 2 that were 10, and then we heard about the 4-year-old and the 6-year-old, and then we heard about one of them, and I still don't know which one, that is gone from Sunday afternoon till Friday,
Right.
right? So.
But the dog still lives there.
For 36 hours, you'll see in here, I calculated 36 hours based on the testimony, just so you know. Right? But again, okay, so now you have an application that says 4, and now you have information in the hearing that it's not 4, it's 5. What do? Because this could very well happen again, right? Are you still considering a valid application?
No.
You now have something before you that was presented on misinformation, correct? And misinformation is not like a young woman with the last name information. It's all one word, no capitals, right? Right, so, okay, so now you're in this hearing and you now learn that there are 5 dogs.
Goodbye.
End of hearing.
Yeah.
Right,
Right,
because of the violation of,
Because we have to allow 5 dogs no matter what.
well, and you have an application that implied
false.
for, and you have false information. I mean, I would tell you what, like, this is like, I couldn't ask for a better learning experience for y'all. And you should be so glad I did this last week. Because you would not believe the number of expletive I used in my office. So, George.
I wish that had been the fun. Does this mean that our ordinance is still intact?
We're getting there. You don't get to jump to the end. Sorry, you've only taken like a third of the questions.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so. Then I think the next paragraph, I'd like you to read them, because I think the next paragraph is relatively accurate. So what happens is, for some reason that remains unknown, all of a sudden, we as the city of Three Forks are aware that there are more than 3 dogs on this property. Okay? And the person comes in, and you don't know this because nobody asked, but the person came in to license the dogs, and your staff appropriately said, you can only license 3. And if you want to be able to license 4, you got to apply for the permit to get 4, right? So there would again have been really good additional, like, wait a minute, like how did, right? That question about, I get you're here, but how did you get here, right? Like there's more to this story, and sometimes the more to the story helps you work through the process you're really going to want to use, right? So they came into license 3 and they made the application for the 4th. And it's so that, I mean, I guess, and I misunderstood, right? They can't, now let's just pause for a moment in time. They lived there in May of 2024. There were 5 dogs in May of 2024. If they had come in May, June, July, August, September, October, and early November of 2024 and applied for a kennel license, they would have had a kennel license, wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. And then we would have never been sitting in this position. So if you remember, this conversation, and I'm going to yell at the mayor in private, but don't worry, he'll get his tongue lashing now as well. But this conversation devolved, right? Like people are yelling back and forth, and Wally's upset, and he's yelling from, I can't see him because he's off camera. And it all goes back to the lady with the barking dogs and the stolen dog monitors and all of that. Right. Or wherever that happened, I don't know, right? Yeah. That it, you all relived that. I'm learning about this. You all relived that trauma, and your neurological paths, having lived that trauma, resent you back to that trauma, right? Right, but and then it devolved into a, well, wait a minute, that person wasn't nice, and this person is nice, and that person wasn't trying to do the right thing, and this person is trying to do the right thing, right? And I have to tell you, you failed.
I did.
You had that big damn hammer that you'll use on me, but you won't use on anybody else, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, right? It got way out of hand, right? Like way out of hand. And like, I mean, there was no order to it. There was no process to it. You guys got sidetracked, and George is absolutely correct. When Crystal said at one point, the lady said, well, you're making me, would you get to choose which dog that I put down, or am I going to have to do that? And Crystal said, or rehome. And the conversation then just kept coming back to that really tender spot of, you're going to have to put down your old dog before you're ready to put down your old dog.
And it's not our responsibility to decide which dog is going to die or get farmed out or taken to the pound or what. It's not our responsibility.
But you agree that's where the conversation went?
That is not where it did not.
No. At that hearing, you didn't hear over and over the dog, which I'm going to have to put down a dog, which dog?
Oh, yeah, the oldest dog went over and over.
Right,
and put it down.
But how did that occur? How did that repetition occur?
From the applicant.
Yep.
It did not come, no one ever said that she would have to put down a dog. It steered that way, and no one ever said, well, you have to rehome a dog. You can rehome the 3.5-year-old. Like no one ever thought about the other way and keeping the old dogs that she couldn't rehome or thought they were going to go to fight clubs or anything like that.
Yes. And that goes back to that meeting got completely out of control, right? People are speaking spontaneously. There's no order. There's no, you've had your time as the applicant. We're in board discussion, right? And you guys are always allowed in board discussion to ask anybody for information. And you are always allowed to say, you know what? I don't have enough information to make this decision and I move to table it. Right? Hey, you can't have to live through this stuff to learn how to deal with it. You can't go to a class and have somebody hand you something and read through a scenario and learn this, unless Jean knows something I don't.
Nope.
Oh, I bet there's things you know I don't. Okay, so we're on to the next paragraph, which is the notices that were sent out, and that is correct. And then you have the hearing, and that's where you're advised there are 5 dogs living there, and the oldest dog is an unknown age, and I tried to get this right? So poor old Toothless was out there somewhere, and then you had the 6-year-old and the 4.5. And she said all that, right? And there was acknowledgement that they all wear bark collars when they're not there. And you were aware that learned that there were no complaints. And the mayor read officer, that should be deputy, by the way, that's my mistake. Deputy Graydonis's report. Now, this is another part of this enactment of this ordinance that my side of it has failed. You got what looked like the old farm kennel license inspection, right? Remember seeing that?
The top says additional, but it does still reference kennel throughout the document.
Yes, and it looks like, well, we looked at it and the poop is picked up and the dogs are all socialized and, right, they had food and they're well taken care of, okay? We don't do kennel licenses. There was no reason for him to go there on this. We don't care what it looks like unless it's a public nuisance. But that's my feeling. And since Des is here, I'll give Des the same kind of credit, right? The ordinance changed and he and I didn't think about, you know what, we need to prep the officers who are on the ground. I need to prep Wally, who's on the ground, on the fact that this now changes, right? So that's, I told you, FUBAR, right? Like some things can't be fixed, right, in the process. Crystal, you got something?
It does say in the ordinance though, that that an investigation will occur.
But it doesn't, it's not a kennel investigation, right? And it would be only for 4, right? So
yeah, it doesn't say for how many or for what, it just says that it shall include that who shall inspect the space the animals will be housed. Such inspection report shall include the minimum of care and health of the animals, access to outdoor space, whether or not the outside space is fenced, if there are any odors or excess animal waste, and dog-related complaints.
Okay, so why is that a deputy duty?
It doesn't say it has to be a deputy, it's
right,
such as law enforcement or a city person or a city employee.
And that's where I'm saying we failed, right? Okay. The report you got looked like every other kennel license report you've gotten in the last 5 years. And that also is hard on you guys, because remember, we're handing things to you and we know you're gonna read them, but you're not gonna, I wouldn't expect you to have spent the amount of time that I spent on it, frankly, because you're looking at it and we're handing you something that, in your mind, you're going, well, yeah, we did these and this is what they look like. And that wasn't a good clue for you guys that what was going on isn't the same as what used to go on. It's no longer a kennel license. It's 3 dogs are permitted and 4 are allowed. Okay, so, so then the next one is she informed the council that one of the 5 dogs travels with her husband and is thus only there from, and she said Friday evening to Sunday afternoon, right? That's what she said. And I said, presumably that dog would be present daily if Mr. Jorgensen was at the residence during a vacation period when he's not at work. But there's other information you received about what they do that would make the assumption that he would spend 2 or 3 weeks in his house with that dog incorrect. Do you remember what she said?
Oh. It was talking about her work schedule,
she worked like 48 on and then 96 off.
Something.
What'd she say they did with the dogs for activities?
Hunting, fishing, camping, jogging.
Right, but hunting, fishing, camping. Well, do you do that at your house every night? Do you come home every night when you're hunting, fishing, and camping?
Well, maybe.
Hunting and fishing, maybe. Camping, maybe not. So, was that another place where more questions couldn't have been asked? Well, wait a minute, I want to know about this dog who's really not there, right? Because that fifth dog is only there for a short duration every week. And listen to this, George, because this ties back into your question. Only there for a short duration every week. We don't prohibit people from visiting a home and taking their dog over, right? So if I come visit Crystal and Crystal has 4 dogs and I bring my dog, then she's not in violation of the ordinance because my dog doesn't live there, right? So that might have been an area for you to dig into and maybe find some facts that would have been able to give you a hook to be able to keep the ordinance intact and allow them to retain all 5 dogs until there's only 3. Just you guys really start thinking about that because you guys don't have a particular staff member who just digs in this for you and thinks about this in that context, right? We're all working, we're all training, everybody is doing the best they can, but you also, it's your job too, to be asking these questions and thinking about, well, how do I want this to come out? And what is the answer, right? So, and then I added in, a primary reason for the change in the ordinance was to establish a maximum number of dogs involved a convoluted, protracted, and acrimonious dispute regarding barking dogs. That was I think that's PTSD. And the council discussed a condition that would revoke any approval upon receipt of 6 barking dog complaints and result in that they would only have to do it to 3. So I'm evil, right? Like, lawyer, no heart. My hands are always cold. That's the way it is, right? So I'm the neighbor and I decide I don't like this lady. And I pick up the phone and I call Des and I say, the dogs are barking. And then I hang up and 5 minutes later I go, the dogs are barking. It's only going to take me a half hour to get her 6 complaints. And it may not be true. Now, I know the idea was to avoid the reason we changed the ordinance, right? I know that, but is that a good condition when you don't have any barking dogs? And are you really willing to let some neighbor who wants to figure out who's a lawyer, like we'll just leave that, some neighbor who's a lawyer to figure out how to get rid of your neighbor's dogs? It's probably not the world's best condition, right? If you're gonna make those kind of conditions on things, you need to think them through, right? Because I will do that kind of stuff, right? Like, I would just do it because I can, right? I'm a generational lawyer. My father's a lawyer. So, like dinner time at our house was different than dinner at your house. Right? Okay, so now I put this together and because I had in mind George's concern. You have approved that there are 5 dogs allowed to be at that property. If there are 6 barking dog complaints, that it has to be reduced to 3, and that the 5 dogs, and what you agreed to was that the 5 dogs get reduced to 3 dogs. So you're kind of like permitting 4 on a pass-through until the next one dies, no increase, right? And you did that. And so my preference in this process is that you made an exception or a deviation to an ordinance. You can't take that back now. You gave this person this right, right? I'd also like to preserve your ordinance unless you all vote under other business at the end of this, that you don't want to preserve your ordinance. And so I would ask you, now knowing what you know, how you would like to proceed in actually making findings that support this decision. Because I think there are factors that you heard that you could say our ordinance says 4, but in this circumstance, I'd allow 5 because one of the dogs is only present 36 hours a week. Like, that would be a circumstance that when the next person comes in and has 5, and they say, well, you let the other person have 5. And you could say, yeah, but you know what? One of those dogs was really not present the majority of a year, right? At least it would give me something to be able to say, yeah, they did say that, but here are the facts that are unique to that. And your facts don't meet that, or your facts do meet that, and I will be at the meeting to discuss their findings with them. So, everybody feel like maybe we've learned something?
I have a question.
Absolutely.
You were saying earlier, like, we should have questioned why law enforcement went to their house. But I thought that was part of the additional dog permit. Is that not?
Having an inspection is part of it.
Oh, okay.
Why is it that, it used to be the deputy was required. It's not required. It's not the deputy required now.
So we should have been like, why wasn't this Wally?
Or it should have been something that triggered in your head, I need to ask more questions, because this isn't.
Okay, but so why was it? Is it because of the bite? Like why?
I don't know, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Not a single thing that you heard after that meeting and after that decision matters.
I'm just trying to learn about it.
No, I know, but
yeah,
that's the reality of it is I'm trying to encourage you to that. When you see these little things that don't quite fit, ask more questions.
Well, I guess I just wouldn't have known they didn't.
Right? Well, and now you do, right?
Kelly has a question.
Kelly, sorry.
Just gonna,
My head doesn't turn up.
that's okay. Maybe ask, why are you doing it now when you've had these dogs since May? You've had all these dogs since May, why now are you?
What happened?
Kennel permit?
Right?
Would be a question, because they didn't move to town, like one of them we had, they just moved to town, did the kennel license as soon as they moved here.
I see.
But that would maybe, I think that's kind of what, why did they come now for a kennel permit?
And then would they have told us about the bite?
No, they wouldn't have told us about the
I'm wondering why.
Because they didn't want you to
because
say
it
no.
wasn't reported.
It doesn't,
No,
you know
no.
what? It doesn't matter why. You speculating on what they did say or didn't say at this point is of no use. In order to do it better, you have to figure out what you would have asked and then apply it in the future. Because we don't know and we're never gonna know, and it doesn't change your decision. So going backwards to figure out what we don't know isn't gonna help us. Going forward and saying, are there things unique that you heard in this meeting that would allow you with a straight face to tell the next person, 4 dogs. It's 4, and the number shall be 4. If you're Monty Python, it shall never be 5. And 3 is right out.
Is animal control consulted these things?
We don't have them. It's a city ordinance. So I'm going to ask you, based on this conversation and my use of 45 minutes of your time, are there specific facts that you know now that are unique to this situation that would be able to make this unique and allow me to have something to compare it to and allow Wally to have something to compare it to in the future? What would those be? Here.
The biggest one that jumps out is the amount of time that one of the dogs is at the property, and it being, what did you say, 36 hours in a
It's
week?
there 36 hours a week, right?
That's one point that sets it apart.
Right.
I guess the thing using a statement like that really bothers me is, how do you know?
Yeah, we're just taking their word.
We
I mean, I
always
guess
are.
that's all we can do.
You always are.
From the second the application gets filled out, like in this instance.
You know, I thought one of the things that was really odd about that report with Deputy Gradanas was they brought out
One dog at a time.
one dog at a time.
I thought so too.
And it's, why?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they said that, and I was like,
Again, right? Like, again, and you know what? And you thought it was odd, and you had the opportunity to go, you know what? I have more questions. I don't want to vote on this.
I know how I vote.
You know, but you could have said, I don't want to vote on this now. We need to continue with this. We need more
I was just,
information.
when I got ready to say to myself, everybody was gonna say, Gene, you feel the same way about dogs that you do about chickens.
So
I
what?
said,
And it being true, so what? Right?
well, you know, and I do, I I really have a hard time wrapping my head around 5 dogs in a house. I mean, and
Well, which is why you reluctantly agreed to 3 with the possibility of 4. I was at that discussion. I remember how long it went on. You held your ground really well, Mr. Chicken.
but I lost every
But I would
time.
say just as much for you and George, who were absolutely saying, no, the rule is the rule. You had the same opportunity to say, wait a minute, this isn't adding up. I need more time. We need more information. I move to table it.
Me and George lost our battle when they said they were going to put down the old dog because people.
You could have gotten Ed. Ed would have gone along with you. Just because you gave up.
Discussion was over as soon as they talked about putting the old
Well,
dog
if you
down.
give up, that's up to you. Yes.
Going back to the things that make this applicant different, that you'd be able to argue about, I'm thinking on the findings, the big ones that jump out at me are the 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is the advanced age, which is less of an argument. In fact, I take it back. I read it again. I don't like that one. 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
One of the dogs present is only present 36 hours a week. Applicants agreed to reduce the number of dogs at 105 East Adam to no more than 3 upon the death of 2 of the present dogs and will not replace. And the applicant agreed to continue using bark collars on the dogs when the applicants are not present.
Would you mind if I left 3 in?
No.
No,
Okay.
I think that
Kind of like 2, right? Like, I like 2 that they admitted those violations. It's not particularly relevant, but it might help me in the future, right? George, you have something to say? I don't want to cut you off, man.
No, ma'am.
Right? And I would even give in to your, you put in the 6 complaints and they have to reduce them to 3. Of course, you didn't tell us how we're going to enforce that, but we'll figure that out if we get there and somebody's, Gloria doesn't go call people. Gloria, you had a question.
I walk by there all the time. They bark at me every time.
Sound like they have bark collars on? What is a bark collar? Sorry, I don't know.
It shocks
It
them.
shocks them when they bark, with a vibration.
Vibrate or
No,
shock.
if they do, they're not turned on or they don't work.
Well, she said she only put the bark collars on when they weren't home.
Yeah.
She didn't say she put the bark collars on when they were home. She said just when they left the dogs alone.
There's other methods.
To be fair, that is what she said.
There's other methods too. My neighbor has a bark machine, so the dog barks and then this siren goes off in there and then the dog shuts up. So, I mean,
yeah, my little,
it does bark though, but
my dog's about that big, and so a shock collar would light her on fire.
Yeah.
So she actually has a citronella collar that she hates.
Oh, so she learns the
Exactly.
collar's on, don't break. And if I don't walk, the collar comes off and, oh, I get this.
Sometimes we can just set the collar out. And,
You're pretty smart. Okay, so with your permission, I would like you to send me back to the drawing board and revise this. With what you have, I've heard from you, about the relevance, right? I would remove the 2 paragraphs about the bite. That was really, I tested you guys, right? So, and
I
Just
am
for
pleased
closure.
that you have done what you have done, and you have my permission to go back to the drawing board and revise it.
you know how many times
And my
George told me to go
question
back to the
about the
drawing board?
ordinance still
Nothing
stands.
Right? And the ordinance still stands, right? That's the thing. And I would tell you, the next time an application shows up that says, we want 4, and somehow you find out there's 5, what are you gonna do?
Deny.
Deny the application
like that.
and tell them they can have 3 dogs.
No, you're not.
Well-
You're gonna tell them to follow the ordinance. You're not even gonna tell them to have 3 dogs. You're gonna say we cannot consider this application.
They can't even apply for the 5th dog. I'm
Or
sorry.
the 4th dog.
And and what you're gonna do is, and we're sending this back to enforcement to enforce our ordinance as written.
So we wouldn't want to say you can have 4 dogs.
No,
Okay.
because they have 5. right? You can't apply if you have 5.
Okay,
You never get 5.
okay.
And 6 is right out, in the words of Monty Python, right? Well, the number shall be 3, 5. So no, right, there we go. All
So
right.
Susan, what you wrote here, you're gonna revise that,
Yes,
and we're gonna actually then deny.
no, you're not.
Oh, well,
We
then
can't
that's what
deny
it
it.
says.
You can't
Oh,
deny it.
approving.
You can't deny it. You voted as a group to let them have 5. So we're gonna put together specific reasons for why you allowed them 5. And then we're gonna pray that it doesn't happen until I'm retired and no one will remember. And then they'll go, no, you can't have 5. That won't happen. You guys are gonna, right?
Why can't we use Robert's Rules of Order and reconsider
You've
the?
already granted it. You've already vested a right in the dogs.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a motion?
George?
I make a motion that we table this resolution until the next meeting to allow Susan to revise it.
I'll second that.
And moved and seconded. Is there any other public comment?
Probably, but I'm not gonna say anything because, you know,
George?
there's a lot more to the story. That's all I'm gonna say.
We have no
You
public
should
comment.
talk to the person that got it.
Is there public comment or not? I put no public comment,
Oh.
because you said there's none, and then you kept talking.
I wasn't gonna say, but you should talk, I'm just suggesting you talk to the person that got it.
And while I appreciate that they may not have had all of the facts, finding them out after they've made the decision doesn't do anything, right? That's the difficulty,
Bed's been made.
right? I don't, and this is a bad pun, but you don't, need to be a dead dog. So. You're still waiting for it.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Public comment. We'll have the vote. George?
Yes.
Reagan?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Roxy?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Beth.
I just want to ask, like, I want to go back to the spike thing for the future. If someone gets bit by a dog and they report it to animal control,
They reported to the Galvin County Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff's Department addresses it appropriately.
and they don't ever, like, there's no connect between people here applying for a permit and us contacting the sheriff's department to see if there's been any incidences with the dog or with the house.
So there definitely is a connection in some parts, right? I would say about 50 to 60% of the dog bites that get reported to us come to the county health department. Because people just have a practice of not necessarily reporting them to us. They don't call like our dispatch and say they just got bit by a dog. Most of them show up to an urgent care or a hospital because they've had a bite bad enough to report there. Then the staff at the hospital has to register that with county public health, which defaults over to our animal control through the sheriff's office. So sometimes it's not unusual for these things to take like 10 business days to really land in the lab of our animal control, unless we get dispatched.
So, and for your purposes, had you known that one of the dogs bit somebody, what difference would that have made of whether they could have 4 or 5?
Well, yeah, you're right.
They told us that there were no complaints.
That is correct.
But even still,
No
fact
barking.
that they had
complaints,
5.
No barking complaints. No barking.
Right.
But right.
The
I
fact
mean,
that they had 5 and were applying for 4 is
Right.
that makes it a moot point.
Exactly. You don't really get any further than that, right? And I have to tell you, I went back and read that like 3 times because I knew how it ended, right? Like I knew there were 5 and then I read the application and I'm like, right? Because it is written in a way, they don't say we have 5 and we'll reduce it to 3. And they don't ever tell you, I mean, it just says, we have these dogs and and they're old and we'll agree to have them, when they die, they'll become 3. So it was incomplete at best. And then it came out that it really was a misrepresentation. All about learning the skills.
Crystal?
So I have a question then, based on like what I read to you guys about the inspection and all that stuff, is if you guys want to send it back to the ordinance committee to edit this and change anything in it.
I think the only thing I want to change is how I drill down and ask questions when an application is in front. I think the ordinance is strong, and because, you know, for lack of skill and information, help weaken it, and that sucks.
Susan, I'd like to thank you for the.
Absolutely.
Yes,
That was
thanks.
incredibly.
Thank you
so much.
civics.
You're welcome.
Wish you were there that day.
I wished I was there too, and I guess
And also, I am
would have
not-
interrupted a lot earlier, right?
I'm not attending meetings virtually anymore. It sucks.
It's terrible,
I
isn't it?
can't hear anything,
Right?
unless everyone is completely silent.
All right. Terrible. Okay. And thank you for your patience. That went longer than I thought it would.
Okay, then, we're all done with Susan, and it's been passed. So we have one item on new business. We have board appointments to the Three Forks Rodeo Arena Board. And it says 2 vacancies exist on this board due to term expirations of Mike Lane and Ryan Pestle. Both Mike and Ryan wish to be reconsidered for another term. No new applications have been received. These terms are for 3 years and will expire on June 30th, 2028. So do I have a motion to accept Mike and Ryan?
I make a motion that we reappoint Mike Lane and Ryan Pestle to the Rodeo Arena Board of Directors.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. We'll have a vote then. George?
Yes.
Reagan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Ed?
yes,
Garrett?
Yes.
And Roxy?
Yes.
Okay, is there any public comments or concerns for items not on the agenda? Okay. Mayor and council announcements. Next, let's see, on the 26th of June, I will be meeting with Trevor Little, who's the state hydrologist, and he wants to go out and inspect the culvert that runs under the Madison River Bridge. See what the state can do. And if he shows up, if any of you want to come down to go on this inspection with me, you can, so.
If he shows up?
If he shows up. I've got, the reason why I say that, every time I have a state guy show up, they retire, resign or something.
If more than 2 of you plan on going, then let me know so I can advertise it.
So you can what?
Advertise it.
Because it's a meeting
Well,
or whatever.
Anytime you have a quorum, we have to advertise
I'd like
it,
to go
but that's why
on.
committees are kept to 3 because it's not a quorum of the council. But we still advertise it because the public has the right to be there and participate. You guys can be making recommendations or things like that. This town and this council is always very good about reporting about what you guys did outside of the meetings and putting it on the record, but it's just good practice.
Okay, that's all I had. Is there any other council announcements? Okay, we'll be meeting on July 8th. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
second.
Everything's adjourned, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, nice to see you all.